And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're going to get one.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
We are back for another week.
Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I tell you what, I'm actually wearing a sweatshirt. It's not for Bill Belichick tonight. The hoodie and everything. It has been damn cold in Iowa. Holy buckets, man. I get in my pickup in the morning and it's nothing but a negative number. I'm just cold to the bone, man. So I apologize if I got the Bill Belichick hoodie on tonight. I am repping Iowa State, but man, I just can't get warm the last couple days. And oofta. I don't know if it's that way for anybody else.
We were even down here in St. Louis. We were even sitting at 1 yesterday morning or whatever.
I got in my pickup negative 14 degrees. I don't even know what the wind chill was, and I guess I don't really want to know. But negative 14 degrees, I'm like, oh, I can't even say bring me palm trees because there's people in Florida with palm trees that got more snow than we have here. But, man, this cold, I tell you what, the older I get, cold, yuck.
They actually did the deal where they take a pan of water and they threw it up in the air, and before it landed, it completely disintegrated.
Yeah, that's what it felt like on Monday. I mean, the wind was blowing, I don't know, probably 30 mile an hour. And I get in my pickup and it's -6. So what's that wind chill? And then yesterday I get in my pickup Tuesday morning and it's like -14. Ugh. I'm starting to question why people live anywhere above like a certain line. I'm definitely north of that line, and it's awful, man. It's awful.
Yeah,
you lived here, you know.
How would you like to plan a vacation, fly out to Destin or someplace like that on the coast, thinking you're going to be walking the beach with the sand going between your toes, only to find out that the beach is completely white and you're walking on snow?
And they've got more snow than we have here. We've got the cold. We just don't have the snow.
Kick in the nuts.
Oh, man. I can't even imagine that. I mean, those people, and the problem is I heard a news report, and then we'll get to football here, but I heard a news report that those people they just told them to stay home because they don't even have equipment to move the snow.
No.
So it's like, just stay home, don't do anything, don't go anywhere. We'll figure it out. And I'm like, man, we get 2 to 4 inches of snow here, and it's like, we'll be driving by 10 o'clock. Like, it just is crazy.
It don't work that way in the South, man. And it don't matter if you know how to drive in it. Anyone else around you that's out probably doesn't, and they run all over you. They got 49 inches of snow, man, from Baton Rouge, Biloxi, New Orleans, Mobile Bay was frozen, Pensacola, Panama City. I mean, extremes. 49 inches of snow, man. It went all about an hour south of Tuscaloosa.
That's crazy. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Well, they probably won't get snow again in 30, 40, 50 years down there. So why would they have the equipment? You know what I mean?
Right. I get it. And I understand that's why places like Atlanta, when they get 2 to 4 inches, it paralyzes the city, because if you don't know how to drive in snow,
no,
you're going to have problems. No question.
There was a guy playing ice hockey in downtown New Orleans last night.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, enough about the weather, guys. This is depressing. It's depressing.
We got Jesse and Lauren checking in from Michigan, saying they're 21 below.
I don't know what it is right now, but it was actually warmer today. It actually did get up to, I want to say 26, 27 degrees, but I got to believe at night it's just dropping like a lead balloon. I don't even go outside. So
yeah, it went down to 10 last night here.
10? Whew. You guys are probably dropping over like flies with that kind of stuff.
I don't mind it without the wind. When the wind's kicking and it's cold, that's when it just cuts me to pieces. I can't handle it. But so without the wind, I'm good.
Pretty much every day in Iowa. So
yeah,
not a big deal. All right, Let's get to football, Ed. What do we got on tap?
So we're starting off with the UFL. One of our guys here on the crew, Mike Palco. Here's a picture of him. He was in Detroit this last week and saw his Lions get kicked to the curb. So after the game was over, he's one of the only fans I know that could turn the dial and go straight from the NFL to the UFL. But there's Mike holding up the Michigan Panther flag. So things are well and good in Michigan. That looks like for sure. I guess I'll put the important dates up, Brett. And it looks to me like we're about a month away from things really heating up in the UFL. So in the meantime,
I think there's one guy remaining on that the Stallions haven't signed. There's quite a few on some other teams. It's going to be some guys released. There's still some quarterbacks that need to be got in Memphis and some of those other locations.
So here's yesterday's movement. We had some players dropped from San Antonio and Birmingham. Chris Blewett, Chris Jackson, Malik Hall. Did any of those three ring a bell with you, Brett, for Birmingham?
Blewett was our starting kicker at the beginning of last year, and he got hurt. I want to say week 2, week 3, and we had a guy come in, the ex-Pittsburgh Maulers kicker, and he kicked the game-winning kick in the monsoon in Birmingham against D.C., and he pretty much stayed with Birmingham to the very end, and then we got Blewett back in, and it looks like he's been released again. Again, there's going to be a lot of movement here the next few days. I know that I think the free agent signing, I think, is Thursday. That's the due date tomorrow. Then I would imagine at some point there'll be some other type of draft. Then I heard from Mike Mitchell and some others there might not be a draft, but there's still a lot of openings on rosters all around the league. Birmingham has their whole roster in place. We still need a third quarterback. That's what I don't know if Normandy's going to be the starter in Memphis. Michigan's got a couple of their guys back. They've solidified a really good roster. A lot of their main pieces are back from last year. Same with St. Louis. There's still some openings in Houston and Memphis, more so than anywhere else.
So it looks like DC was able to sign Malik Fisher. That name sounds familiar. I think he was on their team last year.
Yep, a lot of pro experience. He led DC last year with 7.5 sacks. He's a real good signing for them. Birmingham, our middle linebacker, signal caller, that was a all-star with the Generals of the USFL reincarnate. He led Birmingham last year and did a fantastic job. Got banged up a little bit, but he was removed from Fox Sports roster about a week or so ago, just like our tight end, and we ended up signing him yesterday. That's a big move. We also got the guy from the Giants that literally unloaded on Derrick Henry at MetLife Stadium a couple of years ago. The roster's looking good. Still, though, I'm very anxious to see with a lot of these rosters from Houston, Memphis, even Birmingham, who's going to be that third quarterback that everybody signs. I know Arlington got Perez back, of course. DC just re-signed Tiamu a couple of days ago. But there's a couple guys that might end up that's going to really push Perez and Arlington and Tiamu in DC for the possible quarterback, the starting job. There's still a lot of open space there again with the Showboats and with the Roughnecks, and they definitely need to solidify those rosters.
And here, if we'd be remiss if we didn't put this up on the screen. Today we got Reggie Barlow, all the DC Defender fans out there. He's celebrating his birthday today, so happy birthday wishes to Coach Barlow.
From the bottom line.
And then we had more news today. We had some additional signings. It looks like, you know anything about DeAndre Johnston?
Yes, sir. You talking about the signing for Birmingham?
Yeah.
He's an ex-Houston Roughneck. He's a solid piece in Birmingham. I still feel like it's the same old story. You can't ever have enough offensive and defensive linemen. I expect maybe some releases again in the next few days out of Birmingham because we don't have any open spots right now other than, I believe, one we had open earlier today after these signings. Solid pick. He's one of those many guys that got cut or decided to walk from Houston at the end of last season. Again, solid signing. We still need to replace some of our guys. Yarberry is coming back for his fourth year. Got 3 rings with Birmingham already. He's a solid D tackle. Of course, Stillman, he is with the Broncos and should be getting a new contract any day. So we still need to shore up the offensive and defensive lines in Birmingham.
Brett, what's your opinion across? I mean, are we going to see more guys that are in the NFL right now or we're on practice squads or whatever? Are we going to see some more shifting or is that period, is that kind of over or what do you see?
I anticipate a lot of shifting because you look at like Memphis up here on this list, how many guys they had released. There's a lot of shuffling going on with Memphis and Houston right now, and they needed some work on those rosters, and they're still trying to refine that. I still think Houston and Memphis have got to go out and find quarterback one. I know they've signed some guys. I know they got Dormady in a trade earlier this offseason from the Brahmas. Of course, the Brahmas signed a hometown guy from San Antonio that played with the Texas A&M Aggies. He's going back home and probably be quarterback one in San Antonio, Kellen Mond. But I think we're going to see a lot either tomorrow or look, the players and the coaches report or I know the coaches report on the 24th. Between now and the 24th, there's going to be a lot of action. There's got to be. And I think the main thing that those teams need to focus on is some quarterbacks that are in the NFL that will probably not be signed on those, what is that 10-player, what's the list? Help me out.
Practice squad list? What are you talking
about? Each team can sign a futures up to 10 guys. Yeah. There should be some guys dropping off on some of these rosters. And again, you still have 4 teams in the mix in the NFL. So some of these teams might be waiting for their guy, because there's still some spots that these rosters really need to fill. And again, in those 2 cities, primarily what I'm thinking is quarterback 1.
Got to give a shout out here to Joel. Reggie Barlow, former Jacksonville Jaguar. We are relevant again. Well, your GM just got hacked today, and it sounded like some Jacksonville Jaguar fans were happy about that I saw across the internet. I don't know how Joel feels about it, but I don't know. Jacksonville's still without a coach. So, but we will talk about that in the coaching carousel later on in the show. But
right. Exciting, guys. We're a month to camp, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot of the big boy teams in the league last year, Birmingham, Michigan, St. Louis, San Antonio, they re-signed a lot of big pieces on these rosters. And again, there's some more shaking up going on with the other teams that was on the bottom side, and we're fixing to release our preseason power rankings based on a lot of things, including the current rosters.
Can we put a disclaimer on these way too early power rankings?
Way too early.
Like, I've got it on there.
Even though we had our crack staff,
spend
a lot of time looking at the current rosters, we're gonna hold Brett to these.
I was fixing to say, everybody that gets mad, just hate on Brett. I'm used to it.
Yeah, we'll just say that. Hate on Brett. It was a crack staff, but Brett had the final say, so it's all Brett's
We've kept these power rankings under wrap. The independent auditors of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe have been keeping a close eye on this page before we do the big reveal.
Yeah, they did.
I'm sure my attorney's watching.
Albert, why do you have to be like that? So I would say the projected starter currently for the Battlehawks would be Duggan. I mean, what do you think, Brett? I mean, that's what it looks like. Yeah, but I'm anxious to see that other kid they got. That he's pretty mobile. But now, one thing about Duggan, and I followed him at TCU. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Jamar with a higher ceiling. I mean, when he's on, the kid can pull out a 28 for 32 start. Right. And then when he's off, he's pulled some 10 for 25 starts. But when he's on, the kid's legit. It's just the reason why he's not on NFL roster right now. I'm gonna keep it 100%. Is consistency. He lacks the consistency. He's got a high ceiling. The things that, and I agree with Jeremy. That's true, Jeremy. It's a time-honored tradition. But the thing that excites me about Duggan, and I of course, being in the Big 12, I watched a lot of Big 12 games, is his ability to make plays with his legs. That's something the Battlehawks just really haven't had. I mean, I'm not hating on AJ at all. I mean, but I just think that he's going to give us some options with his legs that maybe AJ couldn't do.
And I wouldn't say when we had Manny Wilkins, he had the scramble capability, but he didn't have he wasn't a pure passer.
No.
Right. So he just,
I think Duggan package. I think he brings, yes, some inconsistency, like you said, but I think he has some potential real high-end passing ability.
Yeah.
And then you match that with his legs. That may open up a lot of things for us that maybe weren't in there in the past.
Right.
Might add another dimension to the Battlehawks that, maybe was lacking. for lack of a better word. And, as you talked about Birmingham, I look at the Battlehawks roster, and I mean, it feels like we were able to bring a lot of guys back.
Yeah.
You look at Rose and Harvey in the middle of the defense. I mean, when Mike Rose went down last year, the captain of your defense, it was like they just weren't the same.
Yeah.
So, to have him back in the middle there, and then his partner in crime, Willie Harvey, and a couple of the others, it's
well, they brought Butler back, Shepard back. They brought a lot of the offensive and defensive line back, and again, we've got a quarterback now, and keep in mind, what have I been saying since we started talking UFL? Was there still some teams out there that needs a quarterback? Does AJ end up signing with Birmingham? Because we need another quarterback. It's been awful quiet. Does he go out one more time from home and try to get a ring? Does he end up in Memphis? Does he end up in Houston? What about DC? There's still AJ rumblings going on. We'll see.
Yeah, the Battlehawks are kind of putting a lot of their defense back together. They got Travis Feeney's back. Carson Wells is back.
Yeah,
Pete is back. Pete is back.
So, I mean,
I'll tell you what, the St. Louis once again is loaded. They're loaded on paper, which that's all it is. And then we've got history from last year. I mean, I knew instantly St. Louis's defense was different without Mike Rose. He's a ball hawk. Field general. He's always in position. He's just a little undersized to be in the league. If he was 2-3 inches taller, he would be middle linebacker for no telling who. Mike's a hell of a ball player.
The thing that really hurts Rose, you're right, his size, but he was the perfect John Haycock linebacker. He's a hard-nosed run stopper, but he can also cover ground as a linebacker and pass defense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mike's a problem. Yeah, Mike's a problem for the other teams.
Yeah. And that's definitely a positive for St. Louis in the middle. And then, when Harvey had to move over and kind of take Rose's spot, you're right. It was just something missing. It's like Pippen without Jordan. There's just something missing. But when they're together, it's a lot better. So hopefully we can carry that through.
So Brett, before we do the big reveal here. Before we do the big reveal here, of course,
I think Palco's wanting to come on, isn't he? I saw a message.
Yeah, there was a message saying he was coming on, but I don't see
him. So,
as we look at last year's teams that really struggled, Memphis being one, Houston being one. Have you seen anything? Arlington didn't have a very good year. Do you see any improvement or any signs so far this year that any of those teams will be improved this year?
Memphis has had some good defensive signings. There's still so many openings on those two rosters in my mind. And you're going to see why I've got them in the position they're in because of, last year and the fact we only have so much to go on right now because I still feel like those two rosters need a quarterback one. And they've, like I said, there's going to be a lot more. They've got a lot more guys to sign right now than Birmingham, than Michigan, than St. Louis. So it's tough to get a strong feel for them. I do know they have reworked those rosters like crazy. We've got a new coach, Wisenhunt in Memphis, which is very exciting for the Showboats. He's got a fantastic offensive mind. I think a lot of the Houston coaching staff is back from last year, but they're really overhauling that roster. You're probably not going to have 10, 12 Roughnecks on that team from last season. It's going to be a lot of new faces.
So since you got Eric and I here that are XFL fans, and you were the only one that was representing the USFL, we decided to dig deep because now that the Detroit Lions season's over, we figure he's got a lot more time. So let's bring in your partner in crime from the USFL, Mike Palco.
Man, I needed you in here, Mike. They were fixing to pick on me. I knew it was coming.
Well, I'm just glad to see that Oh, I can't hear Mike.
Are you on mute, Mike? Can't hear you, bud. Technical difficulties here with the
Technical
USFL conference.
difficulties on the first day back.
First
Listen,
day back.
I can understand with the beat down that Detroit took that he's a little out of sorts. So
Yeah, he's bless
we
his
have
heart.
we have a certain level of professionalism around on this show.
that's what happens when you
Yeah.
bring a new guy. Just
If
bring a new guy on.
we're gonna bring in a guy,
These greenhorns.
he's got.
Well, let me touch on Michigan real quick, and Mike, I'm sure will pop back in. They just re-signed Ross, their speed demon that torched Birmingham last year, torched quite a few teams. I was kind of surprised he didn't hold on in the NFL. Give him another year in the league and see what happens. Also, they got their leader and their field general, kind of their Mike Rose, so to speak. Nakua's back. Of course, his brother plays in the NFL. Mike,
Testing.
There
we got
he is.
we got you.
All righty. Well, I tell you what, I keep thinking more and more about this season coming up, and I'm thinking this is the year Birmingham goes down, and it'll be coming at the expense of the Michigan Panthers. I think we got to be ready.
Mike, hold on 1 second. I got to do a public service announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, the following comments are being made by a Michigan Panthers fan. The bottom line does not endorse or any of these comments that he's making. These are purely for entertainment purposes only. He also said Detroit was going to the Super Bowl, so take these comments as you please. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
I talked to the running backs coach today. He said West Hills is healthy. I asked him about Saginaw Valley State Cardinal Nate McCrary. They're expecting big things out of him. Ground and pound, baby. We got Danny Etling showed some signs. We also got you name all the quarterbacks. EJ Perry from that phenomenal game at the USFL North Division Championship. Oh my goodness, looking at the roster too. They've been pretty busy in the offseason. Steve Kaiser, he's doing some work. They're putting in all the right people and right places, and I can't wait. And Coach Nolan too. What a guy. He's ready. He wants to win here. He's looking to, I think he will heal the city of Detroit football through these Panthers. So I'm excited.
Mike, one of the things that I notice about the UFL is, and I think it's one of those things that maybe doesn't get noticed enough, is I think the coaching gets overlooked a lot in UFL. I mean, when you start naming the names off, it's like, wait, he's a coach in UFL? Wait, he's a coach in the UFL? It's like, yeah, these guys are coaching the UFL. And it's like, I think that's a big piece that gets overlooked, when you talk about Nolan, Holtz, Beck, Wisenhunt now, Stoops. I mean, like the list, just is like, oh, I know that guy. I know that guy. I know that guy. I'm like, yeah, you do. And so for those people that maybe don't pay attention to the UFL or something like this is pretty good football.
Oh my goodness. I tell people the if you can't go to a game, like watch the broadcast. I see just breaking Michigan doesn't have a kicker. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they get Cole Murphy back, who was part of the 2023 Michigan Panthers. He's still out there. So if they needed a leg, I'm sure they have plenty to choose from. So they got them all just ready to go. They're probably just some figuring things out. So I don't think there'll be any shortage or worry about having a kicker.
So I see you're a bet man, Mike. So before I do the big reveal on Brett's power rankings,
we already did a disclaimer on that too.
If you was a betting man, what would you say Brett has the order of the USFL for power rankings?
Can we pop the graphic up?
No, you guess first, and then we'll pop the graphic up.
Geez. Oh, I'm picking his list.
Or you do your list, and we can compare them too.
Boy! All right. Oh, this is
Give us your top team on the USFL side.
I mean, there's the old saying, in order to beat the man, you have to beat the man. That's Ric Flair. You have to put Birmingham #1. You still have to. I
Okay.
haven't seen anything otherwise. She's and who do they in the? I don't know if the who just thinking about the championship. Who was there? Do the Brahmas? I mean, are they? How
No,
far?
you're talking about just go USFL side.
Oh, USFL. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Oh, Birmingham Panthers. And then Showboats and the Roughnecks. This is so many question marks because Houston has went through a roster overhaul.
Yeah.
And,
Complete.
Yeah.
overhaul.
And Memphis, however, it's do I want to put more faith in the coaching or the roster? But the thing with picking the roster side, there's you have who's who are the Jimmies and Joes of the team, and hopefully, they all pick up the playbook, because very early in the season too. You mean that just like any league too, who the heck knows what the heck's gonna go on week 1? Who what are these rosters gonna look like? Because because they still have to make cuts too. So, boy. I want to put the Roughnecks just based on question marks, but Wizenhunt seems really excited about taking the Showboats. He reached out. I think he's going to put all of his effort into putting on a good product. So I would say put Memphis at 3, Houston at 4.
All right, Ed, let's do our XFL real quick. Here's mine. I'm going with St. Louis. Then I'm going with San Antonio. And then I think I'm going DC, and then I'm going Arlington.
We are 100% match. That's how I had it as well.
Okay, let's get the big reveal here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This is way too early.
Let's see here.
Way too early.
And if I had a drum roll here, I would. So let's pop it up here. And there it is. There is Brett's prediction
Mr. Ed,
on the 2025 season. He went against the grain with us, Eric, on the XFL side.
Man,
He's got Arlington as in the #2 hole. And we'll see if that has anything to do with Perez.
Timeout.
We got someone calling timeout here. What do we got?
All right. Outside, for those, I think, care a big deal about this. Are we seeing the return of the Bandit logo for Arlington?
I was just fixing to say, bring back the Bandit logo.
Look at this graphic. Like, you don't want to put an R there. Look at the Panther, the Bronco, or the Stallion rather. You see the stacks for Memphis. You see the Derrick for Houston. It's just, and look at the eyes right there. I mean, you can't put a letter there.
Yeah, you can't beat Arlington's old logo.
No.
Oh my goodness, look at that. That is that's something else there. I mean,
their first promotion this year was what, the Bandits back.
Return
we'll
of the
see what
Bandit.
that means.
Moose Johnson, if you were watching, bring that
Brett,
back.
tear down the XFL side and why you did what you did.
Yeah, why Arlington at 2? Because obviously I have them at the end, and I think maybe
Arlington played. They started so poorly last year, but if you go back and look at the scores and some of the games, they were this close in 3 or 4 games. They did not pull it out, but some adjustments they've made in their roster, I just feel like Arlington's going to win some of those games, those close games they did not win last year. And part of it is the fact that San Antonio's got some question marks, at quarterback now, and their schedule is absolutely brutal. Let's just be honest. I was torn on 2 and 3 with the XFL division, but San Antonio's got 4 home games. They got 6 road games, but not only that, just put that away. Let's go over their road games. They've got 2 in St. Louis, which is arguably maybe the best or most talented roster in the league. Then they go to Birmingham.
This is San Antonio's schedule. I just popped up, Brett. So
I mean, look at that. They go to Michigan, which is equally as talented as Birmingham. They have got an absolutely brutal schedule, and that was part of the reason why I put them at 3 and not 2.
Well, that first game out of the chute with Arlington is going to be a nice measuring stick to see. You know, you go at Arlington, at St. Louis, at Michigan, at DC. I mean, you know, Arlington's going to be a measuring stick. It's going to be a packed house in St. Louis. That's the opener. You know, Michigan's going to be tough. Then you go at DC. That's going to have 17 to 20,000 people at DC that are all going to be wearing red. I mean, their first home game isn't until week 5, for crying out loud.
And then right after one home game, they're back on the road again at
Birmingham. Yeah.
The fans of the Brahmas better be ready to go to help this team get to the finish line. That's going to be a big calling for them, I think. You know, to watch them and just.
It'll be real interesting, Mike, to see where San Antonio sits after game 6, after week 6, with 5 road games and 1 home game.
And from what we've seen, you know, you can still be in the mix if you're, you know, if you go into the last win, and become 4 and 6. I mean, you got a shot to be that. So sometimes you may just have to play for that 2 seed. You know, I mean, that's why with these divisions, every division game means so much more.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like the way they have the playoff format, man, you have to have the top 2 in each one because, you know, playing them twice a year, you know, so like we know how, like as a Michigan fan right now, that opening night against Birmingham, we need that. That is must win. And that place is Friday night, going to be rocking. We're going to need every Panther fan to make the trip, wherever you're from in the state. We need this Ford Field to be so loud in there. We have to help this Panther. And this Panther defense, you know, there's another, you know, the Lions, you know, it's kind of like the opposite kind of little problem. Right? You know, Michigan's just the quarterback away. And if they get that right, then they will be just fine. That's, and they may have a few options. So they have mobile quarterback. Shoot. From what we've seen, what Jaden Daniels have done. Well, all right. Well, let's do what the Commanders did. Maybe this is the way to beat Birmingham. They get somebody to move around like that. So I think that's and they have, and we've seen it last season.
Wonder if that Brahma bull, Albert, if that would be a tough steak or not. I think those are some pretty big old mean bulls. I don't know.
San Antonio has some fans that travel pretty religiously with that fan base, and I gotta believe when they come rolling into Birmingham, that game could get a little dicey.
I don't know. I can't wait. I mean, you know, the thing that I love about the UFL is, you know, I remember last year we were kind of doing our previews and kind of looking at the teams when the rosters kind of got put together, you know, close to finalized and stuff like that. I think a lot of us had Memphis in the 2-hole.
We did.
It didn't pan out that way.
No.
You know, a lot of us, you know, with Houston, we were thinking it could be as high as maybe number 2, and it didn't pan out. You know, Arlington, I don't think any of us had Arlington at the bottom. I think a lot of us had DC a lot closer to the top. So, I mean, the thing I like about the UFL, and I think, you know, Brett, you've alluded to it, we've talked about it, is it's really no telling what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, you might look at St. Louis's roster and say, you know, they got one of the best rosters in the UFL, but it doesn't necessarily mean that St. Louis is finishing on top.
Yeah.
You know.
So
although I hope you're correct.
Tell you what, Michigan was probably our biggest surprise last year. Don't you guys agree? Michigan and San Antonio were both big surprises.
Well, two things I would say, and Mike could back this up because he would know better than me.
What's
Two
that?
things that surprised me about Michigan last year was, man, their defense was phenomenal and their run game was phenomenal.
And they had an unfortunate injury with West Hills. That one crushed me. Like,
Yeah.
one thing about being in like a part of this league, I love the Lions players too, but I feel such a closer connection, I think, with the spring football team. And just when Bryce went down, like I couldn't think about anything else, or not Bryce, geez, West Hills. And I'm just holding my breath, waiting to, just
Yeah,
check.
because all these
Oh my
events you
God.
can hang out with the guys and we interact,
Yeah,
with the
it's
guys on social
official.
media. I interacted with a guy that Birmingham re-signed today, Davis. I told him welcome back home, and
Yeah.
John,
it's just these guys are so much more accessible than a lot of the guys in the NFL.
John,
Yeah.
pending pending a hospital visit or something, John, yes, I will be at the first home game again this year in St. Louis. So go ahead, Mike. Sorry to interrupt.
He's just like Jake, like even when I was with the Stars, these players are great. They are absolutely fantastic and some of the nicest people we meet. And what an awesome experience it was to be with the Philadelphia Stars. I think about those guys all the time. They are. I hope they're all doing great things if they have a chance.
Yeah, like my boy LeBron Ray. You remember you called me and was talking about him, how big a dude he was. He played at
My
Bama.
goodness. Yeah, real quiet.
And he's back in the NFL still.
Yeah, so and he was, and he was I'm just looking at him like this, and oh my goodness, and he liked to wear a hoodie, no matter how hot it was in the spring. He really liked to, I guess, get a sweat going, and this is with D-line coach Brandon Noble, who was also in the ELF. A lot of guys too. Like we got Bart Andrus and for the Philadelphia Stars, now the head coach of the Frankfurt Galaxy in the ELF. So we just saw Jack Del Rio go over there too. So I think a lot of things. I think that's a league that's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. I'm gonna have to figure out to get a subscription, how to watch these guys, because I'm rooting for these guys too, and hopefully some players get shots over there. I've seen a few job postings in the coaching sphere of things, and it sounds like if coaches, I hear it's pretty awesome out there coaching out overseas.
Do they ever team up and merge with the UFL? You never know.
I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting conversation, but I feel like the NFL would probably have the resources to make sure that they win that over, Fox. So I think the NFL, they're really.
I just mean the UFL and the EF and the European League of Football.
You may have a partnership, but you got to think, the logistics of that is going to be
right.
I think that's too far distant into the future. But I think like right now, both those leagues should just focus on their own, like, let's build our brand. And I think they're both doing a great job. It's going to be interesting to see how the talent, they've expanded teams very quickly. But that's just everybody over there is so bought in now more than ever to American style football. And everyone knows the rules over there. They are so much very in tune with what's going on. And their NFL games that the NFL puts on over there sell out in minutes. And
well, I think for the UFL, and I know we've talked about this before, but I think the biggest thing for the UFL to do is let's just make the UFL as strong as we can. I mean, we can't. It's difficult to talk about going to Europe and merging that way when we're talking about Seattle being too far away as a possible expansion team. So,
well, I was just saying, like, more so like the opportunity, like the UFL guys are still out there. So like Bart Andrews. So if you like the air raid stuff, like I do, Frankfurt Galaxy are gonna be games that I'm gonna be tuning into. The Nordique Storm, the personal connection I have with Brandon Noble, Penn State defensive tackle, coach defensive tackle of the Philadelphia Stars. So I'm tuning in because I'm rooting for him, and like, and it's just so, like, that's why like some like. When West Hills went down, that personal connection you don't have, I was at the Lions game, and here's a prime example. A lot of fans waving Aiden Hutchinson or hey, and they don't pay a mind. You do that in UFL, they're turning and they're waving.
Right.
Like,
it's different.
High five. Oh my goodness.
Well,
That's
the
why
great
whoever's
thing-
watching that hasn't been, I'm trying. So there's a lot of fans like in Michigan too. Like, oh, I can't get the Ford Field, so I'm trying my butt off to get these. Like, come to one. Like, it'll change. You'll want to go to every game because you're like, you would think, holy crap, that was a lot of fun, and you like,
Yep.
Well, when we went to the St. Louis game last year, the opener, they had kind of a pep rally downtown, and I wore my Iowa State stuff because, St. Louis has Akeem Butler, Willie Harvey, Mike Rose. Like, you have a connection automatically that way.
Mhm.
Got
Yeah.
my picture taken. Just really good kids. And the thing about the UFL that makes it more pure than anything is those are guys that are they're selling out for another shot any way that
Yep.
they can.
Yep.
And, there's success stories all over the NFL that guys that played in the UFL or, USFL, XFL, whatever, before we got to where, and none other than Michigan's Jake Bates. There's a lot, and there's more. There's definitely more, but those are the types of stories that make the UFL fun.
Oh, here's one here too. I told a couple coaches this already. Working for the Philadelphia Stars was probably the greatest experience that football, like pro football. Like, you look at the roster, and like a lot of these are schools that probably most people never heard of, and here they are just like trying to just keep their dream alive, and they're playing pro football, and it's completely like different set of team names, logos, uniforms. It feels like you're in a movie. Like, I just watched tonight. I finished the movie The Replacements. Like, it feels like any one of these teams could be the Washington Sentinels, coming on the field.
So
It's funny that you mentioned Akeem Butler, Eric, because courtesy of the USFL or the UFL, excuse me. Surprised that he never panned out in the NFL because he's a man among boys out there sometimes.
when we had the NFL scout on the show, what he said made sense to me, and it just shows the different level that they're operating at compared to maybe how you and I see things. He's unfortunately such a tweener. He's not really that outside receiver, even though height-wise he is. He doesn't quite have the speed to be out there. But then he doesn't quite have the size of a tight end to be able to operate in that level too. So, unfortunately for him, maybe he just hasn't been able – they just haven't been able to find out how they make Akeem Butler work in – an NFL offense.
I think too, just real quick too, what do you guys think about the idea if the UFL were to have in Canton their version of a actual Pro Bowl game that we would remember? What a Pro Bowl game should be. Can you imagine the draw of NFL scouts that may come and watch that game?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
That would be
About
what
that
a
for
Pro
an
Bowl
idea.
should look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty. That'd be pretty interesting.
Here all right, how about we could still keep USFL and XFL, but we'll do it in the All-Stars, and they could wear their helmets, like the blue jersey, red jersey, or white jersey, and and have that team helmet, so you could see a Stallion and a Panther helmet out there. How cool would that be, ladies and gentlemen, fans of the UFL and powers to be of the UFL that might be watching our show?
Yeah.
Whoa, what a good idea, Mike Falco.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move this along, unfortunately, because there'll be a lot more UFL talk for another day. But let's take a quick break, and courtesy of the UFL, we'll be right back.
The best of the best is coming together. There's no more what ifs. We're on one league now.
Ready to shut it off. I'm number one in the building.
There's no more talk. Put up or shut up. We'll see who the top dogs is now.
Strap it up and line it up.
Joining forces means more power.
Delirium in D.C.
More potential. More reach.
Unbelievable.
Look for a chance to play ball, man. A chance to show that you still got it.
The hunger is unreal.
Helmet goes on. Nothing else in the world matters.
Tell them I'm ready. Whenever they want, 'cause I'm ready.
A league that pushes the envelope and opens the door to living the dream.
I've been an underdog my whole career.
Football is kind of my last resort. If I could just get this one little break.
Brace the moment, man. This is as fun as it gets right here.
United, they stand to stake a claim to springtime for America's favorite game. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
No, we ready. Yes, sir. Ready to run it back.
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
For a new era,
Let's go.
new challenges,
Best in the nation.
a new beginning.
The time is now.
Line it up, Playboy. Let's do it.
I can't wait to see you guys play.
Are you ready?
This is the United Football League.
Just don't blink.
No. Never get tired of listening to that.
I don't, man. What are we 60 days away now? What's the countdown?
Too much.
Too much.
So let's we got to turn the tide over to college football, the big national championship game. And before we get started on that, we got a full crew tonight.
Every single face
We got a
here.
full crew tonight.
Every single face is here.
What's up?
I mean, everybody's here.
What's up, Mike? How you doing? How's it going, little buddy?
Oh, God. Get the mute button ready.
Listen, you guys just talk. I'm going to be on the mute button here, so just go ahead. You go ahead and get it started, Ed. I got the mute buttons ready to go.
Hey, this should be renamed the NFC, Battle Room or something? Battle Dome?
I don't know.
NFC North Battle Dome.
Yeah, so I'm not going to pat myself on the back or anything, but I believe there was a guy who made a comment leading up to the national championship game on how I thought the game was going to go, and pretty much was to a T, wasn't it?
Oh,
yes, it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
we talked about it, and Ed, what was I texting you? How many times is Notre Dame going to be in that man and get burnt? Every single big play that Ohio State needed, what did they catch him in? Caught him in
Notre
man.
Dame. If Notre Dame can change the script in second quarter, that game could have been totally different.
They were fully committed.
They were. You're right. And Chad, we talked about it. Like you said, they're not going to change who they are.
Nope.
And they didn't.
Nope.
And
that's what they did to get there. And by God, that's what they were going to do.
Yeah. But I thought, oh boy.
The way I look at the Ohio State, and this came with, and our head coach at Saginaw Valley State brought this up too. He was interested in seeing how Ohio State responds to what was happening after the loss to Michigan. The whole Buckeye Nation turned their back to Ohio State. We saw that evidence during the Tennessee game. Where are all the Buckeye fans? Oh, there's a lot of orange in here because they all said, we want Ryan Day fired. So that whole team rallied together, and that championship win that they've just pulled off there, that was for the coaches, the players, the team, support staff, everybody in there, and they just ignored the noise and just said, let's go win the whole damn thing. Like in Major League there. Let's win the whole damn thing. And there they go. And I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, all right, and what does this do for Michigan and Ohio State? Holy smokes. Like what this is going to be. This is going to be so incredible. It's going to be the big two and everybody else. College football will always be about Michigan and Ohio State.
Oh my God.
I tell you what.
Can we put up the national championships and then we can?
It is over for the SEC. It is done.
I tell you what, the secret for Ohio State was they unleashed Will Howard. They took the shackles off of him, and let that kid fling it, and he just flung it. Yeah, I got all this talent. I'm just gonna throw it to him, and they're just gonna win.
What was he like? 14 for 14 in his first 14 passes, like before he had an incompletion. Like the kid was dialed in. I tell you what, I have a real tough time. And Ed, correct me if you don't feel the same way. I have a real tough time listening to these Ohio State fans on social media and stuff when just a short month and a half ago they wanted Ryan Day to fry, and now they're like, "We're the greatest. We're awesome. We're amazing." I'm like, so Mike,
they were talking right before the Texas game too that if they lost to Texas, he was out.
Yeah, fry him. We're so mad. Fry him.
Like I told you guys. Same way with Alabama when we won the SEC and 88-89, went to the Sugar Bowl, went 10-2 that year. But Bill Curry went 0-3 against Auburn. And that following Monday after the Sugar Bowl, he was fired. I mean, I get it. I get it. You've got to beat your rival. And I got news for Ryan Day. Look, they had the most expensive team. They probably had the most talented team from A to Z. He had a lot of the nucleus come back. This for their senior year. But if he don't beat Michigan and Ann Arbor next year, I'm sorry, he's going to be gone. You can't lose. If you're a Michigan coach, you can't lose to Ohio State 5 years in a row and vice versa. Same way at Alabama or Auburn. And that's just, look, if you cannot beat your rival, there's so much animosity there, and it means so much to the fan bases that they really don't have a choice in the matter. So the guy, believe it or not, in my opinion, he's still on the hot seat, but that's for another discussion.
So you're telling me,
yes,
they would trade a national championship to beat Michigan.
I put the poll. There was a poll that was asked after winning the national championship, which one means more? And 52.8% of the pollsters for that said beating Michigan.
You got to beat your hated rivals, man. It means so much to Michigan, Ohio State, just like Alabama and Auburn. You've got to beat your rival. You got to.
So what does this mean for the SEC? Because Michigan wins it last year, Ohio State wins it this year. The SEC, how long can this go on? Taking a back.
Everything's cyclic,
things get ugly.
We remember when the Big 12 ran things. Then we remembered when the Big 10 ran things. Then we remember when the SEC was running things for so long. And right now, Big 10's on the pinnacle. It can last 2 years. It can last 12 years. Look at how long the SEC's run last. Everything's cyclic. Nothing's gone. I got news for you. You can shake your head all day long and twice on Sunday. I'm twice your age. Nothing stays the same. Nothing.
I have a counter to that. I can't lose it.
Hold on, Mike. I want to give Chad a chance to talk, but I'm going to tell you this. You are operating from a homer stance. Okay.
There ain't a bigger homer.
Yes. Okay. We operate from Realville here. All right. So you can't operate from a homer stance. All right.
Easy.
Chad, tell him where he's wrong.
He's a Gen Z guy. He's on his phone. He can't concentrate. He's got to be on his phone.
I'm writing my thought. I'm not losing this thought here.
Okay, he's not losing this thought. Hey, I'm 55. I understand losing a thought.
Yes.
I'm not sure what exactly he's going to say. I think he's going to say that Michigan's going to dominate for the next 12 years.
I'll say it right now.
I don't know, but I mean, yeah, I've been saying all season long it's cyclical. So, SEC runs it for a while, the Big Ten runs it for a while, then it hops to it's not going to be the Big 12, but maybe the ACC. I mean, we'll see how all of the conferences shake out once all the rearranging of all the teams goes. But I mean, yeah, it's up and down. It's always been that way. I mean, Miami could come out and be the best team in the country next year and win the national title. Who knows? Iowa. Oh, never mind.
Never mind. Whoa.
That was stupid.
Whoa.
That was stupid. That's like
I think
saying
so.
that's
So,
like saying
Mike, I can tell you're just dying to say why that's not true. So go ahead.
I think you have to look at what the academic institutions. This is about donor dollars now. This is all about what you have. Some graduate, some tech lady, graduate from Michigan. She's like, I want to win national championships. Make sure we get Bryce Underwood. Here you go. Here's a check. Like, it is like all the donor. Yeah. So like Notre Dame not being a part of their independence, they're going to get the whole pie for wherever success, making it that as far as they've made it.
Well,
it is going to be, and all the recruits, you're pretty much said all the time, in order for them to come north, you'd have to pay me to go north. Well, here we are.
I don't think that's wait. I just real quick. I don't think that's necessarily true. Is that true in baseball? I mean, most of the times it's the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox is a team that spend the most, but it's not always that way. Sometimes those teams spend all the money and then they don't win anything. So could that be true? Yes, but a lot of it has to do with chemistry too. If a kid's going to go to Michigan just for the money and he gives two shits about Michigan, just wants to make some money and get to the NFL, because they don't, nowadays they're not going to school to play for the school anymore. They're going to the school to play for the money.
That went out a long time ago. You're right.
So
Chad.
it depends on the coach. Can the coach rally these kids to play for the school?
Unless you sell
and not just play for the money.
What a Michigan degree does outside of sports. Look at everybody involved in sports.
It makes you a highly qualified PE teacher of middle schools.
Unless you utilize.
We talked about earlier in the year. We were talking about the oil money in Texas and how the SEC school, a lot of the SEC schools were going to have an advantage because of the oil and all that kind of stuff. Did we kind of misread that? Because it kind of looks to me like Ohio State and Michigan got plenty of money to keep up with the Texas boys.
I think so.
Brett?
Look, Ohio State and Michigan couldn't put their money together and have more money than Texas. That's period. But again, we're at the very beginning stages of this, fellas. 5 years from now, we ain't gonna be talking about $20 million payroll. We're gonna be talking about 40 and 50 million. What happens when Phil Knight passes on to the other side, or what happens if he keeps on? How much money is he willing to spend at Oregon? There's probably 10 to 15 teams that's going to be able to keep up money wise. I mean, Alabama, I think, was 17 million this year. There was a couple schools at 20, 18, 19, but there's a bottom to every kitty, and rich people don't get rich by giving their money away. I still say now, and again, Texas was probably the third or fourth best team this year. If they want to, Texas could hammer Ohio State or Michigan when it comes to NIL money. They put $50 million up next year. Texas and Texas A&M have unlimited money. It's ungodly. And now, if not to get political, but if things are fixing to change and there's fixing to be a lot more drilling done in this country, I mean, it's unlimited money in Texas. Alabama will be third or fourth in SEC every year with money, right there with Georgia and LSU and all those. But now Mike's correct. Ohio State and Michigan's got a ton of alums. Those are big schools. They've got a lot of history and tradition. There's going to be, like Saban said, I feel like it's going to be kind of the haves and have-nots. I think Bama will be able to keep up. We definitely won't probably ever get in the top 5 again. If it's just talking about just pure dollars, it's going to take 35,000. It's going to take 38,000. But there's 10 or 12 schools that's going to be right there close to each other each year. Now, what are the other schools going to do? I mean, Iowa State almost and probably should upset, Arizona State, Texas. There's always going to be some of those that come out of the shadows and throw a good lick here and there. But Year in, year out, Michigan and Ohio State will definitely be top 5, top 10 in recruiting moving forward.
Mark my words, Brett. I know Chad likes the bag on the Big 12, but I'm telling you, in the next couple of years, Texas Tech is going to be good.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money in the portal. They got a lot of people in the portal.
They've been good for a long time.
But what I'm telling you is I'm talking about nationally good, and I'll tell you why. So it's a story. It is what it is. There was a billionaire, must have been on social media, complaining about Texas Tech and not being good. Some random dude jumps on there and says, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is if you're so disappointed in Texas Tech athletics? Guess what he's done? He's put his money where his mouth is, and I'm telling you right now, as a Big 12 guy, Texas Tech is going to be a problem. Maybe not next year because it takes a little bit, but I'm saying in the next couple of years, Texas Tech's going to be a real problem.
And like Texas A&M, Albert said, Texas A&M, bro, they got 80,000, I think, enrollment in their school. There's a lot of money at Texas. They've always been the little brother to Texas, so to speak, and I get that. But if we want to, and I got a feeling the next 2-3 years, a lot of these schools are going to get in a surefire pissing contest. And Texas A&M got some money. They might not have quite as much as Texas, but they got a heck of a lot more than Texas Tech does. I mean,
when it comes, just a second, technically, Albert, I said I never got the A out. So I didn't say Iowa.
Here's the deal, Ed. This is what college football has come down to, and it's unfortunate. And we do not get to be on the side of it because we do not necessarily root for it. I'm including Chad in this because of Nebraska, unless they come up with something too. But we do not have that opportunity where big money is all of a sudden going to flow to our schools. We're going to have to get lucky. We're going to have a flash in the – huh?
You're an engineering school.
Yeah,
Those guys get out of that school.
Why wouldn't Nebraska be not on board with this? Like Nebraska, shoot, no one wants to go to a cornfield school. You know, if they weren't really, you know, if they had a lot of the kids these days probably need an incentive. I'm sure they do anywhere that, you know, may not have all the nightlife options, you know, and things of that nature. But I'm sure, like, if
somebody's never been to
Nebraska, but when Nebraska wins, though, I mean, it's gonna. I hope a lot of them see that what a special place this could be when you have a winner there. You know, so I think this is the way where, you know, maybe we could see the Nebraska of old again. I personally, as a fan of football, want to see that happen.
I'm going to tell you, though,
that
Mike,
Nebraska is having some success.
Mike, that's never going to happen, and I'll tell you why. Because money is going to ruin college football. If we're still doing the bottom line in 10 years, we're going to be talking about this same thing, and we're going to be talking about, I don't know, 10 teams, maybe a dozen out of 100 and however many there are. And it's going to matter. I don't know how those 10 to 12 teams are going to float out. I can guarantee Iowa State ain't going to be one of them.
Well, let's say this doesn't mean that if they, you know, maybe if they put some guardrails on it, there's still incentives to go. So if it comes, they're going to make the best of whatever, you know, guardrails that, you know, they
as it is, though, as it is. Guardrails could change it. You're correct, and we've talked about
but this isn't sustainable. I think we all agree right now how things are being done right now is not sustainable.
Well, maybe some are just trying to strike while the iron's hot, you know?
Yeah.
Brett, you just need to quit being a grumpy old man and embrace the new. You know, it's so much, everything modern is so much better.
But
if you guys think I'm bad, you ought to listen to a speech from my mother about this for about 10 minutes.
We recruit academics too, you guys. Like, this isn't just all about dollars, man. Like, this is like, you could really like pitch to somebody, like, could they ever imagine having a degree from the University of Notre Dame?
But you really think?
Come on, Mike.
Mike.
That matters, guys. It matters.
The players are seeing this when they're in college.
No,
Heck yes.
I'm literally I'm on the recruiting trail, folks.
Great. You're not on the recruiting trail for Michigan, dude.
Oh,
Listen,
no, we still have
this is right out of Nick Saban's mouth, and I'm going to take this from Brett because he's cracking his neck and he's ready to lose his mind. When he says, I have to recruit my players every single year.
They do.
Then football has changed. When you lose a guy like Nick Saban, who was 100% Alabama football, who was 100%, you're coming to Alabama because it's Alabama, and he says, listen, I'm out because I got to take a 5-star recruit and recruit him every year back to Alabama. I'm like, then college football to me is ruined. And we
root for our players. You know, some coaches, staff, you know, if their guy goes to D2 and goes D1 and have success, you know, we all wish them the best. You know,
but listen, you're living in a fantasy land if you think that these top players are like, oh, my degree says Notre Dame. Oh, my degree says Michigan. Oh, my degree says whatever. They've turned it into this, man, and Nick Saban proved it. And there's more and more of these college coaches at the highest levels are learning this. Now,
well, I'll at least
the ones like Ryan Day. Well, but I'm saying the ones like Ryan Day that are benefiting from it, Sarkisian, those guys, okay, fine, whatever. Nobody's going to bark. But a guy like Matt Campbell or, you know, I don't say Kirk Ferentz, he's about done. He's older than even Ed is. But when you take a guy like Matt Campbell, who I believe is a hell of a coach, and he's been able to bring guys to Iowa State as 3-stars and turn them into better players, he's not even going to be able to do that and compete. Maybe a flash in the pan, as Ed said. But outside of that, it has ruined with the level that they've allowed it to get to, unless they put the guardrails in, it has ruined, in my opinion, college football. The nil. Now, transfer portal is a whole different thing. But
so,
nil,
Eric,
yep.
Eric, so does that mean you're not watching college football next season?
No, I'm going to watch it.
Okay,
because
so it hasn't ruined college football.
No, what I'm saying is you're going to take a certain line, and there's just you're not crossing it. Nebraska,
I think you're over. I think we have to be careful with absolutism. So when you're saying
on the same
it's ruined something, you're like, okay, well, I'm done with it. You know, if you put a turkey in the oven and you bake and you cook that thing for 15 hours and it comes out just a husk, you've ruined it. Are you going to eat it? No, you're going to throw it away. So if college football is at this point is truly ruined, and I'm not saying it can't be, but at this point, if it's truly ruined, then you don't want to watch it.
I do know some people that don't watch it like they used to, and some people now that just watch their team and don't watch it religiously like all of us do on the show. It's turning a lot of people off. Of course, it's older folks.
What I'm getting at is vocabulary is important. So is something damaged, and is it having some? Do you have some really big issues with it? That's fine.
It's in disrepair, probably.
If you're saying it's ruined, that's something totally different. Just like I hate people who throw the word "great" around. Don't. Oh, so and so player is great. He what do you mean? What are you talking about? He caught 100 yards with the balls last weekend. It's the first time he's ever done it. Why is he great?
Let me put it in the context that I meant it in, Chad. I'm still going to watch college football. What it's meant is, you know, my team, your team, a certain amount of teams. Iowa, Albert is in that group as well. They've been completely taken out of the picture under the current system. It doesn't mean I'm not going to watch. I'm just saying they've been taken completely out of the picture. If it continues the way it is, because I think Mike said it, cornfield money is not going to keep up with oil field money, is not going to keep up with a 30,000, I think Iowa State has 31,000 students. Michigan or Ohio State has 80,000 students. I mean, what I'm saying is it's been put on a different plane. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to watch it. It just means that it's taken Iowa's chances or Nebraska's chances and made them about that much, as opposed to, hey, Matt Rule could really turn Nebraska around. Well, now a factor that plays into Nebraska not getting turned on is how much money does Matt Rule have to be able to turn Nebraska around?
You guys,
that's what I'm getting at.
The traditionalists. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the traditionalists mean, maybe FCS or Division II football. You know, where still the purity of the game might be what's you know, maybe tune into if they capture that, and then just kind of make their comparisons. You know, well,
well, let me tell you guys this. You know, Alabama's a poor state. It's a this, it's a that. I will tell you guys this. They just released all the financials from Alabama this past season. We got $25 million less this season in revenue than what we had the year before. Now that goes right in line with Nick Saban ain't here no more. I'm not putting my money. I'm not putting this much money. And I'm telling you what, if Nebraska has a 9-win season, 8, 9, 10 wins, and these guys are like, look, he's heading in the right direction, but we need this extra chunk to be able to compete with the Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, whoever, Oregon.
Nebraska.
You'd be surprised. They don't have Texas money, but there's always more money. I mean, when Bama literally took in $25 million less this year than last year, that's when the lights got to go and go, aha. See, they were still buying in when Nick was here.
And I tune into Nebraska games to watch Raiola play. Like what would what's his? And I don't think he would have leave Nebraska. Plus, his dad's legacy there. He ain't leaving Nebraska. So I think
if Rule wins some games, I think they will double their NIL.
So he went into Raiola. The reports are he went into the Raiola the day after the bowl game and said, Dylan, what are your plans for next year? You plan on coming back? And Dylan looked at him and goes, yeah, where else would I be? I'm going to be here. And so he's like, okay, great. And then Rule walked into Dana Hogerson's office and says, so coach, what are you thinking about? You want to be here for a couple of years? And Dana Hogerson said, what's the story with the quarterback? Is he going to be back next year? And he goes, yes, I just talked to him. He's going to be back next year. And he goes, give me the contract. I'll sign it.
Air raid, baby. Here we go.
That said, that is going to conclude the college segment because when we come back,
I'm rooting
for
NFL,
man.
After we come back, we'll talk NFL. So hot topic number one, Eric, we're going to do first is going to be this one right here. Because we got Mike sitting here, so I'm going to give him first stab at this.
Listen, now before we start talking, we're on a time limit. All right.
All right.
We've got some hot topics to get through. So when I say time to put a bow on it, boys, we're on a time limit. So Mike,
do a wave, do like a basketball official.
Whatever.
Right.
Ceasefire.
Yes. Right, go ahead, Mike. Are the Lions in trouble?
Lions fans, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. The Lions will be just fine. They will hire within to their coordinator positions. That's the best way to do it. You got Tanner Ekstrad, former offensive coordinator for the DC Defenders. You go back and watch the DC Defenders games from 2020. You look at that and how he calls the games. Hey, this will do just fine. Cardale Jones, they're similar how Jared Goff is. They're both pocket guys. They played really well. So
the DC Defenders offense in 2020 was not good.
Well, you gotta watch the film. Watch the film. Lions are pretty good. It looked pretty similar to me. All right, and then the defensive side of the ball, you just elevate Kelvin Shepard, linebacker coach to defensive coordinator. Hey, that's a good transition. Knowing the Mike linebacker situation, quarterbacks that run around a lot, maybe it'll help out with that. So, nothing to worry about. And then plus, you play the Packers twice a year, you play the Vikings twice a year, and you play the Bears twice a year. So absolutely nothing to worry about, Detroit.
Okay, stop. By show of hands,
the train rolls
which
on.
Which one of you would like to respond to that?
Which one?
To respond to what Mike just said.
Okay.
Somebody raise their hand and I'll acknowledge you.
Well, first
okay,
off,
chat.
answer the question. Albert's asking if the offensive coordinator took the job in Chicago. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. We'll get to that.
Yes, he did.
And
the
they
defensive
also lost their defensive coordinator. He was introduced in New York. He is now the head coach of the Jets. So they lost both their offense.
I'm sure the Lions have thousands. I'm sure they have no shortage of applications. Everyone sees those two positions open. They want to come to Detroit.
Okay.
Chad, go. Chad, go.
My response time. Okay. Yes, the Lions are in trouble. This is why the Lions are in trouble. The head coach is in full panic mode. The head coach the OC left for the Bears, and he was going to take Fraley, the offensive line coach, with him to be the OC. Because he doesn't want to call the guy Fraley doesn't want to call any plays. He just wants a raise. He wants a promotion, and he wants to go with Ben. He likes Ben. They work well together. Dan Campbell throws a gigantic hissy fit and demands that he not take him. And so Ben's like, "All right, I won't take Fraley. I'll go someplace else." So the coach is in full panic mode. So that should tell you the franchise is in panic mode and they're in trouble.
Brett,
go ahead.
Look, on paper, same thing I said with Philadelphia before the season. You remember how high I was on Philadelphia's roster? When Detroit gets those guys back healthy, Hutchinson and everyone else, Arnold, Branch is going to have another year under him. Look, you got to give the GM at Detroit credit. Their roster is loaded. It's straight loaded now. They've done a fantastic job building a roster. But take it from Alabama fan that's seen this every year. See, people don't respect what Nick did here at Alabama. He was hiring new DCs and new OCs every year, every other year. The train just don't. There's going to be some bumps in the road. What was Detroit's record this year? 15-2. What was it?
Yeah,
14-3. Oh, was it?
We can go ahead and post this. You can write it down. You can take a picture, whatever. They ain't gonna be 14-3 next year. It ain't gonna happen. Now, can they get back to where they were in NFC Championship game and all that with the kind of talent they've got? Yeah, but talent gets old, talent gets hurt. Look at what happened to Detroit's defense this year with the injuries. Golf is how old is Golf now, fellas?
Probably just slight north of 30, I would think.
I mean, Gibbs was such a huge part of their offense. What if Gibbs is gimpy? And then you punt Ben Johnson. And let's be honest. Every franchise wanted Ben Johnson. That tells you a lot. Ben Johnson's a hell of a play caller. He called a play the other night that I'm thinking I've watched football for 40 years. I never thought of that. Made me feel that tall. That's how good the guy is. Can Detroit continue to have some success? Yes, but I do think there's some bumps in the road.
Ed, are the Lions in trouble?
Golf will be 31.
I don't think they're in trouble. As some people define trouble as being
pocket passer,
slipping down to the bottom of the division in trouble. No, I think they're still at least a wild card team. But I definitely think that they come back to the pack a bit.
Yeah.
But Jared Goff is 30, by the way. And so he's got plenty of years left. There's no there's nothing to worry about there. They're just so skilled at the key positions on offense that say what you want about shuffling in some new coaches, you still got to have talent on the field. And
players win games.
Loaded. That's why that's why when you look at Ben Johnson going to Chicago, can they realistically think Ben Johnson's going to go to Chicago and have the same success offensively? Absolutely not, because the talent that Chicago has on offense does not compare to what Detroit has.
Look now. Chicago's 2 offensive linemen away, and we need a couple bulls on the defensive line. We're fixing to have another big draft now. What are we going to screw it up? But judging from what Ryan Poles has done recently, I trust the man with the roster. The roster don't lie. That now they've skimped on the offensive line. Well, they've done figured out with the beating that Caleb Williams took this season. That's where we've got to go is solidify the offensive line. And look at our run against defense this season. Again, we don't have the 2 bulls in the middle that we need. We're 3 or 4 players away. But does he have the potential with Ozunde and everything else that Chicago has? He could have some instances success in Chicago, depending on what we get with this next draft.
Do I think they're as in trouble as maybe some people might think? No. Losing your offensive coordinator, losing your defensive coordinator. They also lost their D-line coach, who is now the D coordinator for the Patriots with Mike Vrabel. It's going to be a big question mark as to who. I know, Mike, you say they're going to promote from within, and that's going to make everything just go seamlessly. That time will tell. Okay, time will tell. But
Brad Holmes has a press conference tomorrow too, I think, so we'll be able to get some answers too.
But what I'm saying is, you can't guarantee that it's going to be seamless, and you can't guarantee that they're, for sure going to move ahead and everything's going to be fine. I mean, I think they're not as in trouble as some may think, but I don't think it's going to go as seamless. And I'll tell you why. I spent last year rooting for the Lions, wanting the Lions to win, be successful, things like that.
Right.
I spent this year rooting against the Lions, not because of the Lions themselves, but because their fans turned into Green Bay Packer fans. And it's those things that when they lost to the Commanders, not just lost to the Commanders, but got dog stomped at home by the Commanders and all the Lions fans inside Ford Field, I enjoyed every minute, because when I go on social media, I expect Packers fans to be running their mouths about, well, we have all this and we have oh my God. But when Lions fans start doing it after just a couple of years, come on, man.
Well, you should see how you guys mistreat the Rams players. You guys don't, St. Louis fans don't look in the mirror and look how bad they were treated.
Well, I'm not a Rams fan, so I'm a Bears fan. You can see the flag back here. Okay. We've taken our lumps. We take our beatings. And I'm not saying there's not bad Bears fans, but the Lions fans who have wore paper sacks over their heads for years.
Yes.
All of a sudden, decades. All of a sudden come into these last couple years
decades
of success, and they get on social media like, I mean, I got my tickets.
And it is a shame. And it is a shame that their voices mask over those who've been watching. I've been watching since 2005. This run that we're having, I've none of a lot. I don't think even I can't. I want to look at the number. How many of these new Lions fans had to suffer through the Matt Millen era? Like I suffered through the Matt Millen era. And this success, like, yeah, they lost, but I got over it pretty quick. Did it sting? Yeah. Did it cry? Did it hurt? Where it was heartbroken? Yeah, but I would not like I cut the same old Lions people some slack because that just tells you, oh, they always just keep coming back to watch the Lions no matter what happens. Okay, so if they win, you'll finally be happy. But like me, I'm always like, oh, this is cool. Like I don't want to.
Hey Jay, yes.
Another sign they're in trouble. That we all know how devastated in injuries that defense was in the second half of the year. It was crushed and devastated. Aaron Glenn did a phenomenal job getting that defense to perform the way it could, considering what he was dealing with.
Right.
And when you have a lot of pressure,
and you're not going to have him.
Right.
So, I mean, that tells you how phenomenal of a defensive coordinator he was. And sure, it's the D-line coach and the D-backs coach and linebacker
Who's also
coach.
gone.
But
Williams is also gone to the Patriots.
If you don't think Aaron Glenn's going to take somebody else off of that defense, you've been smoking some wacky tobacco because he's going to take somebody else. And who knows, maybe Ben Johnson takes a guy off that defense too, that defensive coaching staff. So
what do you guys?
You might be looking at a totally pilfered coaching staff. That you need to think about that. Dan Campbell's DNA is go for it and guts and gut running and gunning, and we're going to go for it on fourth down all the time. Which
they didn't get to. They didn't get to against the Commanders.
What I'm saying is he no longer is going to have the offensive coordinator, and he's going to have the talent, but he's not going to have the offensive coordinator and who knows, the offensive line coach possibly to make that happen and to install those plays and to run those plays. Turns out those players were scared shitless of Ben Johnson. They wanted nothing to do. If they made a bad move on a play, they ran the opposite direction. They went to the other end of the sidelines and Ben Johnson was on because he would jump up in their ass. So Dan Campbell has got to really buckle down and do some yeoman's work in replacing all these
Eric
holes.
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy, that's the guy. I love it.
So Marty leads us into our next topic. We're moving on.
Hey, can I answer Jay real quick? Yes, Jay, all of us Bears fans do think, Caleb, that the numbers don't lie. Now, he's got to learn to get rid of the ball faster, but he's going to have a better offensive line next year. Yes, Caleb is absolutely a franchise quarterback. Wouldn't you two agree?
100%.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Who led us into this one? Marty?
Marty did. Marty.
Oh, God.
Marty involves Nick Saban influence on Jerry Jones to bring in Deion Sanders as head coach. And we were going to talk about that as one of our hot topics.
Why don't Saban do it?
No.
How can these coaches be starting to drop like flies, and it still doesn't appear that Jerry knows what he's doing?
Chad, before you talk, and you're right, Ed, I don't know what the hell Jerry Jones is doing. Ben Johnson is gone. Okay. Arguably number
it's
one.
Not his name.
Well, but arguably number one on most teams' list. Okay. Aaron Glenn. If a team was looking for defense, arguably number one on a lot of teams' lists. Mike McCarthy, who they already let go, they let go late. They declined the Bears interview, and then a week later he walks out of the building. McCarthy's obviously not going back. Now I'm hearing, I don't, drum roll, because this name is going to put fear in everybody's minds when I mention this name. Brian Schottenheimer. That is the name. He is going for his second interview with the Dallas Cowboys. Brian Schottenheimer is the name that Jerry Jones is potentially targeting to take over the Dallas Cowboys. Now,
NFL's
before I turn this over, before I turn this over to somebody else, I mean, help me understand what in the hell is going on in Dallas that.
How's that an upgrade?
Yeah, one, how is that an upgrade? And two, why does Jerry Jones, it seems like he is a day short and $1 late on every single. If McCarthy wasn't going to be the dude, why wasn't this done when Dallas was out? They were done, like the season's over. Why didn't we have this discussion with McCarthy right then and there? So you are 100% in on every potential hiring out there instead of McCarthy's gone and a week later Ben Johnson's gone, Aaron Glenn's gone, like dominoes start to fall and you're out of the game, and Brian Schottenheimer is the name out there. Right now Vegas has Brian Schottenheimer as the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I got the answer.
Make it make sense to me. Somebody make it make sense to me. I don't get it.
I got you.
All right, Mike, make it make sense.
It's the leadership at the top. Notice who are the proactive owners and who are the reactive owners. And that's what trickles down from top to bottom. And you can't have progress with people who, are reactive to things and they're not forward thinkers. So, and it just trickles down. And like Jay and Amy Davis says, that's cancerous to an organization.
Chad, make it make sense to me.
Okay. So some clarity on the
I have a master's and stuff, so that's we talk about organizational stuff all the time. So I just trace it back to that. So
and I don't disagree with you, Mike.
That's got to be. Leadership
Jerry
is
Jones,
so important. You hear he has his own press conferences, and he
who
said does that but him.
I bought the Cowboys so I could run a team. So okay, we can't argue that, Jerry. But Chad, make it make sense to me as what the hell. Okay, Jerry Jones runs the team. What is he thinking, Chad? Make it make sense.
So what happened? Some clarity on the McCarthy thing was they had been going back and forth about the contract for weeks, and when it came down to it, I think McCarthy just wanted way too much money and wanted way too many years, and Jerry said,
heard it was years over money. I heard it was years over money.
Yeah, I heard it was years.
Yeah, I heard the money was right, but
so it was more. McCarthy walked, then he got fired. He didn't get fired. He walked.
No, right. So, you're right. You're correct on that.
I think. Well, Jerry, it's the same story it's been for the last 35 years. He can't get out of his own way. But I think the dark horse in this is Kellen Moore. He loves Kellen Moore. He wants to, on his rainy, cold, dreary day, Jerry Jones wants to lay on a couch with a blanket and just be the big spoon and snuggle with Kellen Moore and put on a golf tournament and just sit there and watch that together and snuggle under a blanket and just be together. He loves Kellen Moore. And I think Kellen Moore has a very good shot to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Ed, make it make sense.
If it made sense, to me, what made sense was Deion Sanders should have been introduced as head coach already. Should be a done deal. You should have just went like this until Deion said yes.
What makes you think Deion wants to do that? Deion has said over and over and over and over again, and I have no reason to think he's a liar, that he wants nothing to do with being a head coach in the NFL.
He wants to mold more.
He wants to mold young men. He loves coaching young men. He loves trying to make them successful and get them started in life. Those NFL players are going to pay zero attention to that.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with pay zero attention to him.
Go ahead, Ed.
I would say
respond to that, Ed.
I would say that I felt bad for Colorado because I thought when they started announcing that they might try and bring Deion to Dallas, in my mind, I thought it was a done deal. I thought it was going to happen. And I thought, here is Colorado, who at one time was pretty, I mean, they weren't top of the hill, but they were a pretty prestigious college at one time. As a lot of times that was at the same time that Nebraska was in their heyday. Colorado was in their heyday. And after all the years of wallowing in mediocrity, they finally brought in Deion Sanders and put Colorado back on the map again. And I thought for sure that Deion was leaving for Dallas and that Colorado would just slip into obscurity again and never to be heard from again. So from that standpoint, if Deion actually stays at Colorado, I'm actually all for it. But I still say, if you talk about getting the attention of the locker room in Dallas, oh, Deion knows what it takes to get the attention in the locker room in Dallas.
Brett, respond.
Look, I know we've had this conversation before. You guys are a lot higher on Deion than I am. And I grew up as a Deion fan and as a Falcon fan, you know, other than my Bears. Two things real quick. Deion gonna have things his way. He like Burger King. He gonna have things his way. Gary, like Burger King, he gonna have it his way. That ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Deion gonna want full control, and you ain't gonna get the roster decisions. Every decision is gonna be made by Jerry Jones. That ain't. Personally, I would like to see it because it's gonna be must see TV either way. I don't think it will ever happen with those two personalities. A and B. Once again, I feel like we're giving Deion all this credit. Where did Colorado finish in the Big 12 this year, Eric? Was it fourth?
Fourth.
And no disrespect, but they got dog walked by BYU by a bunch of Mormons, literally by a bunch of blonde hair, blue eyed Mormons, and what the bowl in San Antonio, BYU dog walked them.
You're talking the second year with the team that won a couple games before.
One game.
No,
I just look. I'm pulling for Deion. I honestly am. I would like for him to stay in Colorado, and I would like for him to get Colorado back to where they were in the 80s because I enjoyed watching them back then. In those 2 or 3 years, they were a very, very good team.
That bomb against Michigan. Woo!
Ed?
Cordell Stewart.
So define success, Brett. Are you telling me that he had to come into Colorado and within a year or two, make them national champions? I mean,
look, all I'm saying is I would need to, if I were Jerry, I would need to say more. I would need to see more. But that being said, if I was Jerry, I can assure you I wouldn't have made 99 out of the last 100 decisions he's made. But I'm not rich and I don't own the Cowboys. But I think Deion's heading in the right direction. I'm kind of like you, Ed. I would like to see him another couple years in Boulder. But say if, for instance, if they really sit down at the table and Deion says, you know what, my sons are gone, let's talk turkey. Could those two personalities really mesh? That's all I'm saying. Deion, I think, has done a good job. I still would want to see more. I do. But Eric, Mike, Chad, Ed, do you guys really think those two personalities could coexist? That's the only question I'm asking.
Let me put a bow on this to finish this topic, but I'll tell you this much. I agree with you on the personalities, Brett. Okay, you're right. And I think that's why Jerry Jones gravitates more toward a Kellen Moore, toward a Brian Schottenheimer type. Okay, I agree.
Yes, man.
But I also agree with Ed where you can't bag on Deion in the second year. He went 8-4. Okay, so he takes Colorado from a 1-win to 4-win, or 9-4, a 1-win to 4-win to 9-win. Okay, now I don't know if it was Chad or Mike that said this, but I also agree that Deion's not going to Dallas because I think Deion loves coaching the kids. Like he loves molding young men. He likes turning them into NFL players, not coaching NFL players.
Yeah, that's why I think he reminds me a lot of Nick in that aspect, and that's why they're buddies. It's because they can relate that way. When you go into a pro locker room, I've heard Nick talk about it religiously. It's a different animal dealing with those guys.
So do I think that Dion wants to deal with that anymore? Maybe at some point in time, but I think he wants to make a mark at Colorado first. So on to the next topic. Well done, fellas. Here's the next one. Head coaching carousel. And I'm going to start this one off because I love the fact that Mike is here. Mike, I want to thank you for bringing Ben Johnson to Chicago. I've seen Ben Johnson's press conference today. He already threw some barbs at the Green Bay Packers and Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, so
that's fine by me. Fine by me. That'll take some of the sting out of it. Absolutely.
Lovey Smith also did, the same thing in his initial press conference. And, some of them had tried Mark Trestman, Eberflus, Matt Nagy, whatever. But
we don't like LaFleur. We want LaFleur more than we would want Ben Johnson.
But I will tell you this much. Here's where I see the hire, and then I'll turn it over to you guys. Ben Johnson gives us the ability to unlock the potential. Now, maybe it's not there. Maybe Caleb Williams will be a bust. I don't think so because I think he has the ability that when given the opportunity, and I'll give you an example. When I watch Shane Waldron's offense, we talk about Caleb Williams holding the ball too long. And we talk about how bad the offensive line was. But I saw numerous plays where we have guys running down the field and they haven't even gone into their breaks yet. And we're 2 seconds deep with no outlet. Or I see his initial read is an out on the right side. And we've got 3 receivers within the hash mark on the left side. To me, when I saw what Shane Waldron did scheme-wise, I think to myself, I'm not an NFL coach, and I would never profess to be. But if I had a rookie quarterback, there's 2 things in that play. If my initial read is a 7 and out to DJ Moore, which it was, as I want my rookie quarterback's vision coming across the field, I want some sort of crosser that he can pick up in his vision as he goes from DJ Moore not there. Crosser is there. And then the second thing I want some kind of dump off, some kind of release. There was none. So, and Chad has alluded to it several times. He holds the ball too long. Yes, there are times where he does. But there's also times where we're putting him in best positions to get rid of the ball. I don't know. Chad, Brett, you probably watched most of the Bears game. How many slants did we run? How many quick hitters? I mean,
like 3?
Like 3 all season long. To me, those are givens when you want to get the ball out of a rookie quarterback's hands, and we just refuse to do it.
How many bubble and tunnel screens should we run? 872.
875. Hey, we got trips to the left. Guess what's coming, defense? To me, what I think Ben Johnson is going to do, and then Brett, I'll turn it over to you. What I think Ben Johnson is going to do is he is going to give Caleb Williams the most opportunity to show us what Caleb Williams can do. Now,
I agree.
And then beyond that, we'll find out if Caleb is that franchise quarterback the Bears fans are all hoping to. I think he will give him that opportunity to show that, and then we'll learn that. What I am worried about is it's one thing being an offensive coordinator. It's one thing being a head coach. Now, a guy like Andy Reid can do it, call the plays, but be a head coach of everything. Other guys have been able to do it. We'll see if Ben Johnson can do it. I hope he can. That's the one question I have is, can he be the head coach and still be an offensive coordinator and still be that offensive coordinator that came from Detroit? So, Brett, what do you think of the Ben Johnson hire?
I think it's a home run hire. It's who we wanted. It's who, from what I gather, Vegas wanted, the Saints wanted. I imagine quite a few teams wanted. I mean, he was the name that people were talking about at the beginning of the year. That he would probably be the big name at the end of the season. Everyone would go after. I mean, our offense was just so vanilla, and it was so like you could call the plays.
Predictability.
Yeah, by the formation they're in. Like, if I can do that and you can do that, what do you think that team and those coaches that do this for a living, they knew what was coming. He still, him and Poles is going to have to get together. We're still going to have to solidify that offensive line to be able to get everything out of Caleb and the rest of the talent we've got on that roster. Just a couple linemen, and I think on that side of the ball we're set. And how many open coaching vacancies do we have right now, guys? Still got the Cowboys, still got the Saints, still got the Raiders. Who else?
Maybe it's only 3 left. Jacksonville.
Where does McCarthy end up?
They fired their GM today too.
Yes, they did fire their GM. So Chad, and we'll move on, but where are you on the Ben Johnson hire?
Well, I think I've made it pretty clear. If not here, I've made it. All my family and friends are tired of hearing me say it. I wanted John Gruden. That's who I wanted. I wanted somebody who's had a lot of success as a head coach at developing quarterbacks, at winning, won a Super Bowl. Almost, if it wasn't for the Tuck rule, he would have went to another Super Bowl.
Right.
So that's who I wanted.
And now, I can't disagree with you. I'd have been fine with Gruden.
He's a great football mind.
Yep.
But that was never going to happen. That was a pipe dream. But what impresses me about this hire is the Bears did something bold. Right. Kevin Warren, who I have my opinion of Kevin Warren. If you're not sure who that is, that's the president of the team, the CEO. My feelings of him had crushed. I wanted him gone. But he went into George McCaskey, the chairman of the board, and said, listen, you're a $7-8 billion franchise. You need to start acting like it. We need to go out and spend money, and we need to do this. We need respect. And we have zero respect because we're doing things on the cheap all the time. This is the cornerstone franchise of the NFL. That your grandfather founded the NFL. You need to spend some money, and you need to act like an adult and do this. And so
they were losing the fans.
Yep, they were losing the fans. And so this was the big, bold hire. So this was the number one target of everybody, and we got him. And I'm impressed with that, and I like that. More than anything else, I like that. Now, can he be a great head coach? I don't know. It's a lot of work. It's so much more work than people realize from being a coordinator. You have to coordinate everything. However, my son, who is much more into the Bears than I am, my oldest son, he's a little ridiculous. But he says that Ben Johnson over the last 2 years has been going to Dan Campbell at several different times in the season and says, teach me what it's like to be a head coach. What do I not know? What do I need to know as a head coach that I'm not doing as a coordinator? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What do you deal with? What do you have to plan for? So he's been going in and having meetings with Dan Campbell, however frequent it is over the last couple of years, to learn how to be a head coach. And I think that was very smart of him. And so that gives me hope there. So I have a little more. I don't have as much hope as I had last year because this year was so crushing. But I have some hope that he's going to be the guy.
Well, maybe since then with
oh, sorry, Mike. Go ahead. Mike, go ahead. Good hire, bad hire. I mean, you're a Detroit Lion fan, so you're going to say it's a good hire, but
yeah, of course. They finally get. Let's come on. You got to have an offensive-minded head coach, especially for trying to develop Caleb Williams and looking at all the jobs. Maybe he liked the North too. I mean, he probably thought. Dan Campbell said, you win Detroit, it can be a very special place. You win in Chicago, it can be a very special place. So If that's maybe he wanted to go to where the football history is, maybe because what Dan Campbell says, respect the game. Maybe they talked a lot about the history of the game. Like winning, and you think of Bill Murray, and his times with the '80s, right? The Bears, right? The Masters of the Midwest.
Yeah.
Like
Chevy Chase.
Get the Bears.
The fan base is so hungry for a winner.
Yeah,
Chicago, Bears town. It's not a Cubs town. It's not a White Sox town. It's not a Bulls town. It's a Bears.
There we go. Let's get.
It is a Bears town first, and then I would say the Cubs are right behind there. But I mean, it's a Bears town first.
You tell we're getting, feel bad for Matt LaFleur. We're gonna see he's gonna have some fun every week in the division with O'Connell coaching against Campbell, because I think Campbell and Dan Campbell and O'Connell, I think they like each other. I bet if they were all on a trip, it'd be those three hanging out, and they would probably leave LaFleur out. It'd be they're chit chatting, having a good time. Then there's Matt LaFleur all throwing a hissy fit in the back. You're like,
Ed.
Oh, I'm not.
Ed, real quick. What about the Ben Johnson hire?
It was interesting today. I was listening to Keyshawn Johnson talk about the Aaron Glenn hire in New York. And Keyshawn said that when he played football with Aaron Glenn back in the day, they were very close. And he made the comment that Aaron Glenn, it's going to be his way or the highway. And he said there is 0% chance that Aaron Rodgers will be under center when the season comes next year, because Aaron Glenn will view Aaron Rodgers as a cancer, somebody that's going to try and do it his way and not listen to Aaron Glenn's way. And in year one, Aaron Glenn's not going to have it. So, if that's the case, let the games begin, because now you got Aaron Rodgers out there.
Minnesota.
Free agent. Where does he go?
Minnesota. It's destiny.
Minnesota.
It's destiny. It has to happen. It has to happen. Green Bay to the Jets to Minnesota. There's no other. There's no.
We have to talk about the conference championship games real quick and make our picks.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna.
I guess we have that. Yes.
2-minute warning.
2-minute warning. Yeah, right. First game, Washington and Philly. Washington coming off of the crushing dog stomping of the number one team, the number one seed.
Who wants to go first?
Mike,
go ahead.
Mike. You go ahead first. Go, Mike.
Watching that game in person, I wish you guys could all have seen my face when I realized, I knew who Dan Quinn, head coach, good. But then once I realized that Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator, I'm like, oh boy, because I know how he runs his offenses, and he has a weapon in Jaden Daniels. So crushing loss for sure. But I am going to I believe, because they've won so late in the year against this team, I'm going to roll with the Commanders to beat the Eagles.
Ooh. That is bold.
That is very bold.
Who's the Super Bowl? You got to play in hot in the playoffs.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to take Saquon Barkley for the win.
Saquon Barkley.
The Philadelphia Saquon Barkleys are going to win.
I'll go next. As I look at this game, Jaden Daniels has been a great story, clear rookie of the year. But here's the deal: you beat Tampa Bay in the sun. You go to Detroit under the dome. Now you're going to Philadelphia in the elements. And when I look at the elements, I always think defense. Who's going to play defense? And Philly's defense is, aside from Dean, at 100%. Brett has talked about it all year long. Mitchell, DeJean, all the Carter, all those guys on Philly's defense. I think this is probably the week, and it's at home in Philly. And I think Philly is destined to go to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, I know if we were to rank quarterbacks right now, we would say it's probably Mahomes, Allen, and then Daniels and Hurts at the bottom. Maybe we'd argue, but I don't think many of us would argue that
Hurts is definitely at the bottom.
Right. But here's the deal. And Chad just mentioned it. When you have Saquon Barkley, why should Hurts put the ball in harm's way? Why should Hurts do anything? Why would we ask Hurts to do anything crazy? I mean, was his numbers good last week? Chad, do you have his numbers by any chance? What did he throw for? 150 yards or whatever it was?
Yeah, it wasn't very many. It was way less than
almost 200, didn't he?
But I'm just saying it was almost 200, but it wasn't 200 yards. So what I'm saying is they're not asking Hurts to do too much, which I think we would all agree last year when they were asking Hurts to do it all, he wasn't capable of that.
Right.
Now you put Saquon Barkley in the backfield. He doesn't have to do it all. They can control the clock. Every time Barkley touches the ball, he's a potential home run.
Hurts was 15 of 20 for 128 yards.
Yeah.
And just to add to my Saquon Barkley take, the Eagles are much smarter than the Ravens. They're going to hand the ball to Saquon Barkley. The Ravens 100%. Were too stupid.
And we talked about that too. Yeah.
It is cool to see, in my opinion, too. It is really cool to see. I do think, though, for the Eagles and just I think for the league in general, I think it's cool to see a running back as like a star again, and where people are like, oh, running backs are kind of, they're drafting them in the second round and all that stuff. I think now we're going to start seeing running backs go top 3 again. I think this is great for football to have the ground game be a presence.
But think about this, Mike. I just said it. Having Saquon Barkley allows Jalen Hurts to not have to do too much. So unless you have a Patrick Mahomes and a Josh Allen, a Joe Burrow that you could put the game on their shoulders if you need to, now you can have a above average quarterback like a Jalen Hurts or an average quarterback. But when you got Saquon Barkley standing back there and you have the offensive line to run behind like the Eagles have, now all of a sudden you don't have to go to the draft and find that next home run. I think maybe the Saquon Barkleys and the Derrick Henrys could be like a wake-up call. Maybe we'll start to see a little more of the run game start to filter into some of these teams.
Is a year like this, though, sustainable, though? I've always seen seasons like this have some sort of significant drop-off, like for CJ2K.
It's a copycat league.
It's
a copycat league.
It is.
So who'd you pick?
I took Philadelphia. Brett, who you got?
You know how I feel about Philadelphia and their fans.
Right.
And I picked with my heart all year, and you see who's in last place. I think it's going to be a really good game. But again, Philadelphia, from top to bottom, their roster is so loaded, and they're at home and on the road. Daniels is a fantastic player, rookie of the year, obviously. But I'm going to take the Eagles by 3. Both their line, they're going to control both lines of scrimmage. It's going to be a tough game for Washington.
Ed?
Yeah, I thought you guys were talking about Barkley when I said 200. I thought I was you was talking about Hurts's passing yards, and I was thinking of Barkley's rushing.
I knew it wasn't very many.
Barkley had 205 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So, why do you not just feed this guy the rock the whole game?
But you could say the same thing about Henry. When Henry had 20 plus rushes, they win. When he has less than 20, they lose. He had 16 against Buffalo. What are they doing?
What happens? He was just getting cranked up again too, like always.
Again, so Washington looked good last week, of course, because Detroit was limping into the game on defense, and so of course he's going to look good. But I just think Philadelphia's defense is a whole different ballgame, and I think Philadelphia is going to be able to control the game with Barkley. So I got Philly winning.
What if they stop the run? Will Hurts be able to throw?
Well,
I don't know. Washington's capable of stopping their run.
Yeah.
Here's the deal.
That line.
Here's the deal. Who did the Rams, who I think arguably were the top 5 defense? I think we could say they were top. They were healthy. They were top 5 defense. They knew they were going to hand out to Barkley. How'd that work for them? I mean, how'd that work?
The Eagles' offensive line is such a mismatch for Washington's defensive line, in my opinion.
That's my opinion too. I could be wrong, but you had Verse. You had Verse on the Rams line. I mean, they were 100% healthy up front, and Barkley put up two. Oh, he did, but they put 205 yards on the. I mean, Saquon is just a different animal running behind that Eagles offensive line. Like,
what is this? Like this team reminds me of in a way the 2007 Giants. Like this, they're going on I think this is a
they're hot and healthy, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think this got some little Giants to it here. This is
I'm pulling for Washington.
And if it's Chiefs versus Commanders, what a story that's going to be. It's like that's your David Goliath.
Imagine if it was the Chiefs and the Redskins, like it should be.
So
history on the line. I think with the Commanders winning, I don't think I talked to a fan too. I mean, do you guys, with it winning, like they don't want to change a thing right now. So, like they don't want to put the Snyder days back in their face doing that. And I get it for a historical, like I'm a history nut, but they don't want to jinx, they don't want to mess up a thing right now.
I think the question, what if they stop Barkley, doesn't hold true. We're talking strictly rushing yards. The first time around when they played Washington, Barkley went for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. So now they play him the second time. What's Washington thinking? We got to stop Barkley. What's he do the second time around? 150 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns again.
Right.
So to say that we realistically think that Washington can stop Barkley, I mean, we haven't even talked about the receiving yards Barkley had in both those games.
Yeah, because there's no need.
I just think Barkley is gonna give them the weapon they need. I think Philadelphia will control the game.
All right. Next up, Buffalo at Kansas City. 2-point favorite, Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, what do we got on the comment line? How'd we do on that, Ed?
Comment line. We got
nobody picking games.
Nobody picking games or just still commenting?
It's late, fellas.
Commanders by 1. Henry has
why
Washington.
They're not picking them? Because
Henry went with the Redskins.
They know that the Swami here.
Oh, juice.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
They just listen to my predictions and they know how it's going to turn out.
So
Jay has Washington last second field goal. Man, everybody's got. I mean, it looks
everybody's
like
got Washington
in a clean sweep. So
everybody knows something we don't know.
Apparently, we'll see.
What's Ed gonna say? What's Papa Eddie got?
What's Papa Ed got on Kansas City Buffalo here, bud?
Wait, I missed it. I must have been yapping. Who'd you take, Philly or?
He took
or
Philly.
He took Philly.
I took
all that
Philly.
big talk.
And when it comes to Kansas City Buffalo, as bad as I would like to see Buffalo win this game, just like Mike said earlier when we were talking, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Kansas City has the recipe. They get to do it at home once again. Travis Kelce becomes now. I'm pretty sure my mom could beat Travis Kelce in a 40-yard dash. So how he's able to get open by 5 yards,
the refs are picking
beyond
the defenders.
Me. The guy is uncanny, and he has a rapport with Mahomes, and he knows just when to settle down, tuck into a certain spot, and Kelce just becomes a different player. And when the lights shine the brightest, I think that Kansas City, with the help from the refs, will be going back to the Super Bowl once again.
Chad, who you got?
The over/under on roughing the passer is 3. and the over/under on roughing, hitting him out of when he's going out of bounds is 2. So
Okay.
you take the over/under on that.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs have to go and take on the greatest football player who has ever strapped on cleats and shoulder pads in Josh Allen. So this is a huge mountain to climb because he is a god. He's been touched by Zeus himself. Zeus took one of his thunderbolts and shoved it right up his asshole when he was born to make sure that he was going to be the greatest football player to ever live. He makes Michael Jordan look insignificant and small.
This is so choreographed. You've been thinking about this forever.
I got my
just popped
trigger
into
on
my
the
head.
mute button, Brett. I'm ready.
Give me the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs. Second greatest quarterback of all time and possibly the second greatest NFL head coach of all time. Give me those two guys.
I said before the season, I said there's 2 teams that I don't think the Chiefs want to see. It was Detroit and it was the Buffalo Bills. And here they are. And I think just something about it just feels like Buffalo's going to do it this time. I think from what I remember last game, like they got pretty much everybody healthy. they're getting really loaded. And I think this is a team of destiny here. And just thinking about where the, historical purpose of it, Washington's played Buffalo in a Super Bowl before, they're in New Orleans. That's a historical Super Bowl place. I mean, it just feels like, it's meant to be, and from the football, powers to be that this would be a decent Super Bowl matchup. And that's my pick. Let's see Washington and Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
So what I will say to Mike on that, just as a response to his pick, when Kansas City went to Buffalo earlier this season, Kansas City really didn't have anything to play for. They did. I mean, of course, there's always something to play for, but they really didn't need it for home field advantage. So when you look at how that game went, Buffalo at home, Buffalo, everything to play for. Buffalo wanting to get that monkey off their back, the whole ball of wax, throw in everything you want to. Buffalo had to scrape to get that game.
Like the Chiefs didn't against the Texans?
What's that?
That's what they do.
The Chiefs do that in every game.
That's what they do. They've done
every game.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is, what makes you believe Buffalo at home with everything to play for, home crowd, blah, 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 barely gets by the Chiefs in the regular season? Barely.
Any given
the
Sunday.
Chiefs had a game to give, so don't tell me that it meant the same. Now, with everything on the line, Kansas City at home, Buffalo coming in,
Any given Sunday, that's my pick. Any given Sunday. This is the playoffs. Every down matters. It could be a special teams mistake by one of these guys.
Mike, you need to understand. Ever since they traded away Tyreek Hill, this offense has never been the same. They've never been the same. They're not the same offense. And so
with that defense, they don't have to be.
Nope. They got Spags, and Spags got that defense firing like a demon. Chris Jones will just decide, oh, yeah, I guess I do play football. And he'll get 5 sacks, and he'll have 6 tackles for loss. And then Mahomes will go 27 of 30 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Kareem Hunt will run for 120 and a touchdown. I mean, since they lost Tyreek Hill, this is what they do. This is what they do. They blow nobody out. They just win games. That's all they do.
Who's next?
Brett?
Like that, pun?
Brett, you.
Look, I think everybody on panel is rooting for Buffalo.
No.
You know, I can't tell you how many times I picked against Kansas City this year. I'd say probably a dozen. So you see how that turned out. My problem with picking Buffalo in this game is I don't think Buffalo was the second best team in the AFC. That was Baltimore, and that was shown last week. Problem is, when you have 3 turnovers and Buffalo has none, and you don't feed your bull running back that nobody can stop, and he was just getting warm, Baltimore should be in this game. They're not. They were a better team than Buffalo. I think it was obvious last week. And unfortunately, I'm taking the Chiefs by probably 7. I will be pulling hard for Buffalo, but I just Kansas City is so well coached. And again, if a call is close, not making excuses, it always seems to go Kansas City's way. And it's in Kansas City, which is a very tough place to play. So give me Kansas City by a touchdown.
And we all know Eric's taking Buffalo.
I think that with everything stacked against one team, 60-man roster versus a 53-man roster, the greatest quarterback to ever walk the face of the earth versus the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. You know, and one team is at home. One at home earlier in the season, 30-21. I mean, the deck is 100% stacked against Buffalo, but I think even with the stack against Buffalo, I'm 100% taking Buffalo because, for one, I dislike the Chiefs. I dislike all the excuses that they made all week long about how, well, I mean, the Chiefs are middle of the pack when it comes to this penalty, and when it comes to late hits on the quarterback, they're middle of the pack. I'm like, you know what? I don't care about that. What I care about is if you watch the game last week.
The Chiefs were making that excuse?
Yes. Nick Wright.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Nick Wright.
The Chiefs were saying that.
And Chiefs fans. Mahomes actually addressed the officials.
Oh, so fans were making that.
So
no, let's not get confused here. The reason why he's taking Buffalo is because he knows that's the only shot he has of catching me.
Can I finish, Ed? Can I finish?
And after last week,
that's why.
Can I finish? I mean, am I allowed to finish, Ed? Okay. I want to finish because it's not the amount of penalties. It is the timing of the penalties. 3rd and 12. All of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes gets roughed, and now it's first down. 2 drives last week. You saw the bullcrap roughing the passer penalties or the unnecessary roughness penalties I got that turned them into first downs, that both those drives that would have been punts turned into first downs.
What you're saying is...
I remember when Aaron Rodgers got all those.
So what you're saying is you are saying that the refs are for Kansas City, therefore you're using that to pick Buffalo.
No. Yep. What I'm saying is the reffing crew, the NFL screwed up.
Well, they will have watches. And when the NFL wants them to throw a flag, the watch buzzes and then somebody throws a flag.
Yes. I'm hoping that the NFL shot their wad because the NFL crew that they had against the Texans, Kansas City is 7-0 when that reffing crew is on the field. So I'm hoping that they shot their wad with that crew to get them here. And now they're saying, you know what? It's Josh Allen time. It's time for him to play in the Super Bowl. Get rid of that three-peat nonsense, whatever. So I'm taking Buffalo. I hope there's only like a small dot in the whole map that is rooting for Kansas City. So I'm looking at a Buffalo-Philadelphia Super Bowl, and I think that would be just fine.
So Brett, take us home. Give us some of the new names, the pages we got that we're sharing our show to.
SEC Mega Conference, SEC Focus, We've got a new DC Defenders page that we're sharing to UFL memes. Hell, I can't remember all the others.
You got to give a shout out, man. Come on. You got to be on top.
Again,
thanks to everybody for watching.
But again, we really appreciate
Watch NASCAR and you'll know how to do it,
out
Brett.
there that allow us to share.
NASCAR will show you how to thank your sponsors. You watch.
No, that'll show me how to take a nap.
It's funny how
listen,
every week we always talk before the show and we make the comment, God, what do we got to talk about? How are we gonna make a full show out of it? And every week
there aren't enough hours in the day.
Every week we always go well over. So anyway, if you heard it here, you know that when it comes to football, once we say it, that is the bottom line. Enjoy a great weekend of football, everybody, and we will see you again next Wednesday.
Peace out.
Goodbye.
And that's the bottom line.